Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're checking out a video about Switzerland. I saw this one on the the YouTube homepage, and I just had to check it out. It is titled "Why is Switzerland Home to So Many Billionaires?" So I don't think there's any country in the United States. Wow, I don't think there's any country in the world that can top the United States when it comes to billionaires, because there's just so many, honestly, and I'm not surprised that Switzerland would have a lot of billionaires, but I am a little bit surprised because it's Europe. You know what I mean? It's Europe. I think it's much harder to be a billionaire here because the inequality is way less. And usually, where there's less inequality, there's usually less people who are just super duper wealthy. If you get what I mean, compared to the United States. So very shocking, but we're gonna be checking out this video right now. So thank you for watching. Shout out to Switzerland. If you're from Switzerland, let me know in the comment section down below. Please do like and subscribe. Any recommendations you have related to Switzerland and anything related to Europe, you can leave those in the comment section down below, or probably click that link in the pinned comment section where you can recommend videos, and I'll check them out as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Let's check it out.
Think of Switzerland and you might think of fine cheese, luxury chocolate,
Certainly.
and snow-capped mountains.
Of course.
But you may also think of money. Switzerland has 1 billionaire for every 80,000 people, making it the third most dense billionaire.
What's the population? 80,000 is actually a very small amount. So what's the population? I'm thinking about 4 or 5 million. I don't know. Hold on. Switzerland population. What are we saying? 9 million? Good God. There's a lot of people there. Wow, okay, 9 million. Wow! Oh, okay, so 1 billionaire per 80,000 people. That's 100,000 basically. So what are we talking about here? Let me do a quick math. How many hundreds can, we got 9 million, and we got that. You got 10, so that's approximately guaranteeing about 9 per each. Oh my gosh, I'm not trying to do this math right now. I'm trying to rush in.
Population in the world. Only Luxembourg and Hong Kong have a higher proportion of individuals with a net worth of at least 10 figures. Do you feel like you know any billionaires?
I personally know quite many billionaires. Yes.
Hold on. They take you to the street and then buddy's gonna be like, yes, I know me a few rich dudes out here, man. I don't know nobody like that. I'm broke. Everybody I know is broke. Just saying.
Millionaires, yes.
I do not know any billionaires. No. Plenty of millionaires, but no billionaires.
No, I don't. I wish I did, but I really don't.
Swiss residents are also among the richest in the world, with a mean net worth of almost $700,000, ahead of the US and Hong Kong. That makes the country stand out on several key wealth metrics.
You know, like the fact that when you look at the United States and it's 551, right? You got to remember that we're talking about 340 million. Right, people, and then we were talking about just 9 million. I'm about to give it 10 million, to be honest, because I think it wasn't close to 10. It was actually 9.034. So 9 million, right? So we're talking about 9 million people compared to 340 million people, right? The fact that that is more than the United States tells you how wealthy the population in Switzerland actually is, because the average for something is going to clearly, right, be lower if there's less people. So the fact that the average is high, it simply means that it's around the same for everybody. So that is actually pretty amazing.
And Hong Kong. That makes the country stand out on several key wealth metrics.
If you look at the income distribution, it has remained relatively stable over many decades now. It is much less unequal than many other countries.
The average person has it quite good here, but I mean that doesn't mean there aren't poor either. Right. And then the super rich, of course. And I mean that difference is of course huge.
So what makes Switzerland such an attractive place for the uber wealthy? And what does that extreme wealth mean for the rest of Swiss society? As of 2022, Switzerland was home to an estimated 110 billionaires, with a combined wealth of $338 billion. That's well above other super-rich hotspots, like Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates. Among some of the country's wealthiest residents are Chanel co-owner Gerard Wertheimer, the heirs of IKEA creator Ingvar Kamprad, and the founders of homegrown healthcare giant Roche. Switzerland is considered one of the most politically stable countries, with a strong reputation for political neutrality. It means wealthy individuals can trust that their assets will be safe from any sudden leadership and policy changes. The country also benefits from an attractive tax system with low rates for both corporations and individuals, giving Switzerland a competitive advantage versus other locations.
The tax aspect is one part of the equation of rich individuals. In the form of income that very rich individuals tend to have is not labor income. Most of their income tends to be capital income or capital gains on the companies they hold. And there is no capital gains tax on financial assets here in Switzerland, which of course is attractive for these kinds of rich individuals.
No capital gains tax. Oh, Lord. What? Oh, my gosh. You're obviously not going to suffer if you're a business in Switzerland. Obviously, because what? You started a company, that thing with $1 million. Few years, that's $100 million. Guess what? You ain't got to pay a single dime out of that in taxes. That's actually great. Right? But I genuinely believe that taxing the income is the number one way to keep things a lot more equal. Because yes, companies make a lot more money and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the companies actually, without the companies being in the country, your country will fail. It's as simple as that, right? But taxing the salary of these people who operate these companies is actually the key, in my humble opinion, because everybody needs to take some money home, right? So taxing the wealthy through their income actually does help tremendously. But hey, I don't know how Switzerland does it, but hey, they doing it. I'm shocked.
This means the Swiss aren't getting taxed on the profit they make when selling an asset that's increased in value. And while there is no capital gains tax, Switzerland is one of the few European countries with a wealth tax, but it is set at a relatively low level of 0.1% to 1.1% of an individual's net wealth. That tax is levied by individual cantons, or regions, of which Switzerland has 26. Martin Buller, finance chief for the canton of Grisons, told me this system helps boost competitiveness.
The cantons are responsible for everything that's not or delegated to the confederation or delegated to the municipalities. We are able to shape our financial policy independently, but we have some law confederation-wide where we have to be in line with. We have the very globalized urban centers like Zurich, like Basel, Geneva, and Grisons is a very big on surface canton, but in the periphery it's more rural. Means we need other goodies to find the people
To attract people
to live here. And the way we do it is we have, for example, by the wealth tax, so we have this competition between the cantons on one hand, but we also are all interested that this is not exaggerating.
Switzerland also benefits from a strong Swiss franc, which lowers the cost of foreign goods and services while raising the price of Swiss exports. The country's currency has steadily strengthened over recent decades, reaching parity with the euro. Meanwhile, it has held steady against a strong dollar.
You don't have to be afraid of a major depreciation of the currency here, which is kind of related also, of course, to the political stability, to the strong legal and institutional setting here.
The country is also considered a leading business destination, with world-class financial services, pharmaceuticals and chemical sectors. It is also home to major business institutions, such as the World Economic Forum, which famously gathers global industry leaders for its annual event here in Davos. Switzerland's banking sector developed a reputation over the 20th century as a place of privacy and anonymity, making it a particularly attractive location for wealthy individuals to store their cash and potentially avoid taxes. That system came under scrutiny following the global financial crisis and the failure of several major Swiss banks, forcing the industry to clean up its act and require greater transparency from clients. But still, it has retained its status as a hub for wealth management.
Historically, that has been part of what the Swiss banks have been doing, essentially helping rich individuals evade their taxes in other countries. They've moved away from that business model and try to keep moving away from it,
right?
Because the international regulations have become stricter.
The shift comes as governments face.
No, I mean, I totally get that. A lot of countries will be really, really mad about that, right? Because you're, lowering all of these weirdos who don't want to pay taxes, and it just becomes a little bit hostile, if you know what I mean, with other countries, because they're going to not want to do business with you and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with paying a little bit of tax. You know what I mean? If you're like a large company, I don't think there's an issue with it, because how I look at it is this, right? If I make $5, right, and I pay tax out of that, right, it's gonna actually affect me. But if I make $50, comparing the $50 to the $5, it's not gonna be a significant pressure. Let's say it's a 50% tax. 50% of $5 is $250, so you get $250. 50% of the $50 is $25, right? So I'm getting $25 still, right? So when you really think about it, being taxed when you make way more actually does not affect you as much as it affects the persons who are making way less, right? Which, a lot of people will say, well, they make less because they do less and so on and so forth, but everybody still needs a survival, if that makes any sense. It's just wild how Switzerland does this. I just don't get it, because the country is great, healthcare, all these things, school, all these things, but how the flip do you do this? How? It's shocking.
Increasing pressure to rein in the so-called billionaire class, as many continue to struggle with the cost of living crisis. A 2024 Oxfam report found that the combined fortunes of the world's 5 richest men have more than doubled to $869 billion since 2020, while 5 billion people have been made poorer. So what does Switzerland's ultra-rich population mean for the rest of the country and social cohesion overall?
To focus only on rich people would not fit anymore. So we have to rethink, we have to get attractive for all parts, for young people, for, low qualified personnel. It's not that easy anymore to say we can focus on this and the rest is okay.
It's a problem that there are so big difference, but we're lucky that we're living in Switzerland.
It's definitely true that Switzerland does have a bigger gap between, the richer ones and the not poor, because we're not, but the less wealthy ones, you could say.
Despite the extremes, however, Switzerland continues to rank highly on livability and social harmony indices. That is seen as being down to the country's social policies and labour laws, which ensure decent living standards for the less well-off too.
Right. I do believe that you're always going to have a distance between the rich and the not so rich, because it just makes sense, if you get what I mean. Like, if somebody is making $100 million every year and I'm just making $10,000 a year, obviously there's going to be a huge difference between our salaries. So at the end of the day, I still think that you're always going to have that distance, and I don't mind the distance, because as a human being, a lot of these rich people, they do whatever, right? And I'm not talking about like the super duper rich, right? I'm talking about the ones who are, 1 billion type stuff. You know what I mean? I ain't talking about the 250s, because just that is just absurd, right? Nobody needs to be that wealthy, in my humble opinion. But a lot of people, right, will obtain these wealth through generations and so on and so forth. And, if they're paying taxes and helping the community, I have no issues with them. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, a company will definitely generate more money than an employee, or I've never been able to not mess those words up. Employee or employer. Who is it? God, who am I? I don't know.
That the workings of the labor market, the education system that makes sure that even people further down the distribution actually make good incomes, has worked for a long time very well.
If you think about the system in which there is a social structure so that people who don't earn that much can still live quite well, that is probably a key element to the society.
Exactly. main reasons why that is possible, it's through taxation and not being, not creating an excuse for the rich people, but without their taxation, that becomes a lot less possible because if you tax a guy making $1 million a year for his salary, you're gonna get like a lot of money to help a lot of other people. It's as simple as that. But if you tax me making 10K, and I'm not saying I'm not supposed to be taxed, I'm giving an example. But if you tax me, right, my 10K for the year is probably gonna just give you, I don't know, 250, right? While his is gonna give you 250,000, right? So it really makes sense to tax the rich, but also appreciate the rich. I think a lot of people don't appreciate the rich, and things are a lot better because of them. And the last thing we want to do is make people who are successful feel as if they're not appreciated, and then they now just stop producing. You know what I mean? That would not be good for us at all, right? Because that's jobs being lost, all kinds of shit. You can go down the whole block of it, right? But obviously we don't want the rich to just be so focused on money and just, trying to capture every damn thing that they can possibly get. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. It's a complicated situation, but we talk about it. We find a middle, and we work with that. But in my humble opinion, I think Switzerland is doing a great job. The wealth inequality, in my humble opinion, in Switzerland is nothing compared to the wealth inequality in the United States, which is absolutely scary. So, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comment section down below. I'm out of here. Peace.